Alright, part 3, last one, I promise I'll shut the fuck up after this. And I hate to piss anybody off, but I'm gonna skip the Inquisitor and go right into literature. My fantasy stories started with Dred Stewart and R.A. Salvatore. That is not true. It actually started with the Cleric Quintet, but it was still R.A. Salvatore. However, but in the years that pass, I realized there's a tonal shift in the story you're trying to tell, depending on whether or not you want it to be an epic, grand fantasy adventure, or you want it to be more personal, more Dragon Age 2-ish. That's sword and sorcery. Bob Salvatore manages to blend that line really well because everybody's got a personal stake in what's going on, and sometimes what's going on is something huge and epic and earth-shattering, and a lot of people know about Dred Stewart. How many of you know about Erebus Kale? I'm not going to spoil it because if you can start at the beginning and get it all for yourself, I highly recommend you do. But the older I get, the more I love Dragon Age, and the more I reread books that captivated me at the time, the more I realize that tonal shift is noticeable. For real, I love all of the history that goes into Westeros. I can't read those books. And as much as The Hobbit plays an integral role in my life, I don't know if I'll ever finish Lord of the Rings. There's something about the story that just got lost. And anytime you find yourself doing something that you regularly enjoy doing, but you feel like you have to do it, it's not an opportunity for you to just enjoy doing it. You need to stop. No, for real, don't slog through it. You don't need 4 million pages of suck to know that you think this thing is ass. Just close the book. For everybody who highly recommends George R.R. Martin, I always ask if they read Moorcock. For anybody who insists that R.A. Salvatore is the peak, I'm going to ask if they've read Paul Kemp. Salvatore is responsible, and this isn't the one versus the other thing. Salvatore is responsible for a whole lot of wonderful, wonderful fantasy stories, not just in the Forgotten Realm. But how many of you have even heard of Egelin Nix? It's the story, man. Some people fall in love with the world, and some people fall in love with the story. Sword and sorcery is where it's at. And that's why I love Dragon Age 2. The stakes were smaller. They were personal. You got to see this person go through this situation, and by the end of it, they weren't the same. And they didn't always win. You watched Hawk, just like Erebus Kale, make moves that only get made when you're out of moves to make. You continually take 2 steps forward and 3 steps back, and even when you get to the finish line, something goes wrong. And right when things can't get any worse, they do. And now you've got a decision to make. One that you can't take back, and one that you don't have time to properly plan out. And whatever comes from that decision, it's your deal to live with it. I think Inquisition was solid storytelling, so I'm going to leave it out. Origins took you to the top of the mountain. Dragon Age 2 reminded you what's in the valley.